Fellas, boys and girls, it is that season again. It's NFL season, and it is exciting. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize how much I exactly missed it until I'm watching it, and boy, did I miss it. I know you guys did too. I think we're all just excited to finally have the NFL season back and college football. College football has been exciting, except for the state I live in. ASU is awful. Awful. I'm so glad I'm not an ASU fan because they are bad. They love the blow games. But let's just go over these week one games, man. Let's talk about kind of what I thought was going to happen, what happened. Was I right about anything? Was I wrong about anything? Let's go over some of the big storylines and takeaways. Ah, I love the NFL season. It is awesome. Let's start off with the Thursday night game cuz remember, I upload these podcasts on Friday, but I always record Thursday usually prior to the Thursday night game. It's just when it's easiest for me to record. We can talk about the entire season, the entire week coming up. So I usually give my guess, but then the episode comes out after the game happens. And as you guys know, I'm an Eagles fan. I am an Eagles fan. Die hard. It's like the only sport that I am die hard a fan of one team at. Um, and I, ever since I was as young as I can remember, I've been an Eagles fan. I've watched countless hours, countless games. I watch literally every single game every week that the Eagles play. Luckily, I've been blessed that we've had a good team since we've always been relatively good, but the fact that we've won two Super Bowls in such a relatively small amount of time, been to three, is insane. I thought it was never going to happen when I was growing up, and I'm glad that I was wrong. But remember, Eagles Cowboys played in week one, Thursday night. I am always worried about games like this because it's a divisional game. And I'm also superstitious, so you're never going to hear me say that my team is the best team. I'm always going to be worried that they are just going to blow it somehow because I've watched it 100,000 times growing up. But it's a divisional game. And so even if this was the worst team in the division, there's still always a chance that it's close. You might have a game stealing moment, game tying moment, you know, defense has to play in credit, like whatever the case may be. It's just always going to be a close game because it's divisional. Look, Dak Prescott is on my fantasy team. Granted, I didn't draft him. I auto drafted this year because I am trying to test out a theory that it is so random whether you get a good team or not. You can think you have the best team, players can get hurt, whatever. So I'm testing the theory that it doesn't matter if you auto draft or draft yourself. The team is going to be the team and it's going to be just as good as if you drafted it. So I'm testing out that theory. That's why Dak Prescott's on my fantasy team. Wouldn't have been my first pick at QB, but that's what I got left with. I was not expecting the Cowboys to have this. I don't know if the Eagles' run defense is just awful this year after losing all those, after losing the defensive players that we lost. But they came out hot on the ground. I mean, Javonte Williams, 15 carries, 54 yards, and 2 TDs. For a team that just crushed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, you would think that with the limited amount that the Cowboys have offensively, talent wise, that the Eagles would have been able to just stomp them in the ground, stop everything that they do. That was not the case. Javonte did pretty well on the ground, had 2 TDs. Dak Prescott only threw for 188 yards. That's not pretty common. The Cowboys have been pretty pass heavy. And maybe that had a lot. Maybe this has a lot to do with the coaching change. No more Kellen Moore. I mean, it's been 2 years, but Dak Prescott was hurt last year. CD, 7 receptions, 110 yards, but he did drop the one catch that probably would have mattered. Sucks because look, I hate the Cowboys. I'm no Cowboys fan, but you hate to see that because he's a star player. He dropped probably the game-winning catch if he would have caught it. Unfortunately, he dropped it. The Eagles got lucky, came out with a win under their belt. Jalen Hurts, 19 for 23, 152 yards. So it wasn't a very pass-heavy game from either team. Jalen Hurts was our number one rusher, 14 carries, 62 yards, 2 TDs. And Jahan Dotson, 3 receptions, 59 yards. This is a crazy stat line because, look, Saquon only had 60 carries, 1 TD. Still good. I mean, he was busting out 100-plus yard games every game last season. Still had a TD. But I'm more curious about looking at this receiving area for the Eagles because our top 3 pass catchers were Jahan Dotson, unexpected, had 59 yards. Dallas Goedert, we love Dallas Goedert. He's a weirdo, but we love him. He had 44 yards on 7 receptions. Saquon, little scat back, 4 for 24. And then look at this. Devontae Smith had 3 receptions for 16 yards, and A.J. Brown had 1 reception for 8 yards. I know this was not a pass-reliant game. Like, neither team passed the ball very much. But the fact that Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown combined had 4 receptions for 24 yards, it's tough. And especially with all the accusations last year of A.J. Brown being upset that he's not catching balls, that, Jalen isn't throwing it to him and blah, 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 blah. Look, I would have done the same thing if I was a star receiver in the NFL. You not only want to get paid, but you also want to feel like you're doing what you're worth, especially for the next contract that comes up, right? So, unfortunately, it was not a pass-heavy game. Eagles squeaked out a win. I know we probably talked too much on that game, a little bit too long, but unfortunately, I'm an Eagles fan, so you're probably going to have to sit through it most of these weeks. The next game, a game that I was not expecting the outcome of, the Chiefs at Chargers. I did not think look, I thought it was going to be a close game, but I thought that the Chiefs would somehow find a way to win because they always do. They always find a way to win, even when they don't have the necessary players, talent on offense to do so. I mean, last year literally felt like it was just Pat and Travis. Now let's look at these stats. Pat he was 24 for 39, 258 yards and 1 TD. Justin Herbert, 25 of 34, 318 and 3 TDs. Justin Herbert was a dog out there. I mean, he looked incredible. The Chargers, Zach, the Chargers finally have a team. They finally have a coach that is exciting. Rushing yards, game leaders. Patrick Mahomes, 6 carries, 57 yards, 1 TD. Look, I know Pat's got wheels. He can run it. But I don't think that he should be their number one. He should not be the game leader for the Chiefs in rushing yards. For the Chargers, it was Omarion Hampton. Remember, he got drafted this year. Was a dog last year in college. Receiving yards. Hollywood Brown, 10 receptions, 99 yards. Finally doing something for the Chiefs. Let's go. Quentin Johnston, 5 receptions, 79 yards, and 2 TDs. This was just, I don't know. I was not expecting the outcome of this game. I thought the Chiefs would squeak out the win here, and they do not. We'll get into the week 2 games after we talk about week 1 and, the week 1 storylines. So we'll talk about what is their next opponent coming up. Dolphins, Colts, another one I was not expecting. I mean, I told you guys, I had no faith in the Colts whatsoever. I did not. Did I have faith in the Dolphins? No, because I don't know what the hell is happening in Miami. But I thought they have the talent to be a good team, to at least compete in the games that they can compete in. Because remember, the Colts, who was their QB? Daniel Jones. Look, I don't know. I just can't get behind it. I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. I watched way too many Giants games where he was just not good at all. And especially with if you have Brian Dable as a coach, you should be better. I don't know. But anyway, the Dolphins Colts, remember this was in Indianapolis, was just a blowout. It was a blowout game. Colts won 33-8. Daniel Jones, 22 of 29, 272, and one touchdown. Jonathan Taylor, 18 carries on the ground, 71 yards. Finally, Jonathan Taylor is back to the old Jonathan Taylor form. Michael Pittman Jr., a guy I've had on fantasy way too many years, but I still enjoy watching him. He's fun to watch. He had 6 receptions, 80 yards, and 1 TD. We'll go over the game leaders for the Dolphins, but it wasn't much. Tua threw 14 of 23, 114, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Not a great day for Tua. Devon Achane, 7 carries, 55 yards, and Tyreek had 4 receptions for 40 yards. It was an all-around blowout in Indianapolis. Sorry, Miami. Go home. Let's look. The next game, Steelers-Jets. This one was fun. This one was a fun game to watch. Aaron Rodgers visiting. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, this one was in New York. So Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers visit Aaron Rodgers' last team, the New York Jets, with new acquired QB Justin Fields. At first, this game started 7-9 in the first quarter. Both teams scored 10 points in the second quarter. Third quarter, the Jets go up by 5 because they scored a touchdown. And then the fourth quarter, the Steelers just put it on the money. Had 17 points. The Jets couldn't score offensively again outside of a couple field goals in the fourth quarter. But let's talk about the game leaders, and then we'll talk about what the issue with the game was. So Aaron Rodgers, 22. Let's start with the Jets. Justin Fields, 16 of 22, 218 and 1 touchdown. He was a dog. Justin Fields looked amazing. Breece Hall, 19 carries, 107. Breece Hall is a name you should have imprinted in your head. If you're a fantasy football player, you know Breece Hall. Every week, he just because I'm like a pseudo Aaron Rodgers fan, like I've watched a lot of those Jets games, and Breece Hall, he's incredible. I've seen Breece Hall turn nothing into something way too many times. I will always be a fan of him, Breece Hall. You're always going to be drafted on my fantasy team if he's available. Garrett Wilson, 7 receptions, 95 yards, and 1 touchdown. Garrett Wilson looked amazing, but we all know it. He's incredible. Aaron Rodgers, 22 of 30, 244, 4 tuds. 244 and 4 tuds. Aaron Rodgers pulling out the prime peak Aaron Rodgers form. Jaylen Warren, 11 carries, 37 yards. The Steelers had no run game, 0 run game, and they could not stop the run. DK Metcalf had 4 receptions, 83 yards. DK, Aaron Rodgers, that connection is going to be electric this year, so watch out for it. If you see a Steelers game on, turn it on, and if it's not a defensive game, Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing the ball all over the field. But this was a game where the Steelers should have won it 10 out of 10 times, but they could not stop the run. They could not stop the run at all. I mean, Breece Hall was getting everything he wanted. Justin Fields was running all over the field. Like, they just couldn't do anything. And luckily enough, Justin Fields is good, so he had 218 and 1 tud over the air. But Aaron Rodgers had to put on an electric performance to win this game because the Steelers defense looked not great. And the Steelers defense is what's kept them in it the past, half a decade? I mean, seriously, I don't know I don't know if this was just like the game 1 jitters and next, for week 2, the Steelers are just going to have an electric defensive performance, but they could not stop the run at all. And so Aaron Rodgers did what Aaron Rodgers does and wins games. Jaguars, Panthers, we don't need to spend too much time on this. The Panthers suck. The Jaguars are okay enough to blow out the Panthers. Bryce Young, remember, kind of looked pretty good at the end of last season. Came out, looked like rookie Bryce Young, throwing for 154 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Did not look great. I mean, Trevor Lawrence didn't look all that great either, but luckily the Jaguars can run the ball because Trevor Lawrence only had 178, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So I don't know. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be. Remember when Caleb Williams was coming through college and you go, yep, he's the number one pick. He's going to be the number one pick whenever he wants to be drafted. That was Trevor Lawrence too. Unfortunately, there's just been up and down years. There was that year where Trevor Lawrence looked like MVP like, and then there was the next year where he didn't look good at all and missed the playoffs. So it's pretty up and down for Trevor Lawrence so far. But Chuba Hubbard had 16 carries, 57 yards. Travis Etienne Jr., 16 carries, 143 yards. He looked great. Travis Etienne, and not only can he run the ball, but he can catch the ball to the backfield. He's a damn good running back. Teteroa McMillan, 5 receptions, 68 yards, and receiving game leader for the Jaguars, Brenton Strange, 4 receptions, 59 yards. Not a lot of offensive power over the air in this game because it was just the Jaguars doing whatever they wanted on the ground. But I don't know if we're being honest, I don't know what's going to happen with Bryce Young's career. I hoped that he was going to be on a better team in a better place doing better things, but unfortunately the trend has been so down since college for him, and I'm not going to completely blame him. I know it has a lot to do with coaching. He hasn't had a lot of talent around him, but yeah, that's where we stand. Jaguars are 1-0, Panthers are 0-1, and we'll probably lose next week's game. Cardinals at Saints. Sorry, Lena. Cardinals look good this year. Kyler Murray. Let me kind of walk that back. The Cardinals look better than the Saints this year. I don't think either of these teams will make the playoffs. I don't think either of these teams are all that great. I think the Cardinals have some offensive talent that is exciting, but outside of that, I don't know that the Cardinals will be all that great this year. I kind of hope I'm wrong because there are players like I like Marvin Harrison. I think Kyler Murray's a funny guy. I like Kyler Murray. But anyway, let's get into these game leaders. 21 of 29 for Kyler Murray, 163 and 2 tuds. Their rushing leader was Trey Benson, 8 carries, 69 yards. And their receiving leader, Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 receptions, 71 yards, and 1 tud. This game was 20-13. Cardinals squeak out a win by 7 points over the Saints, led by Spencer Rattler, who I don't think is their answer. In high school, he was like the number one on every list ever. So I don't know what happened, but Spencer Rattler's 27 of 46. He almost was 50%. Oof. For 214, no tuds. Alvin Kamara, 11 carries, 45 yards, and 1 touchdown. And the receiving leader, Juwan Johnson, 8 receptions, 76 yards. Yeah, the Cardinals squeak out the win, but I didn't think the Saints were going to be all that great this year, unfortunately. I think they're going to be battling for the number 1 spot in this year's draft. The Giants at Commanders. This game went exactly how I expected it to. The Giants, not good. The Commanders, pretty good. Russell Wilson, 17 and 37, 168. I don't know why they don't just. I mean, if you're going to draft, look, I understand why. I understand why they're doing what they're doing in putting Russell Wilson in. But when you draft a QB in the first round, why not just play him? I don't know. Why not just play him? Like, let him get his legs under him. Let him play a couple games, get the feel of the game. Maybe it turns around into something. But Russell Wilson is not going to be the Giants quarterback for the next half a decade. I understand that they're trying to get him to learn the system, get him to learn the offense, all that. But I mean, Russell Wilson isn't keeping them afloat while he's sitting on the bench. 17 to 37. That means he was under 50%, 168 yards. Russell Wilson was also the rushing leader, 8 carries, 44 yards, and Malik Neighbors, 5 receptions for 71 yards. Jaden Daniel did what Jaden Daniel does, 19 to 32, 33, and 1 tud. Rushing leader was Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, 10 carries, 82 yards, 1 touchdown, and Deebo Samuel was their reception leader. 7 receptions for 77 yards. This game was a blowout. Not a good game to watch unless you're a Commanders fan. Was not a good game, unfortunately. A good game that came up and kind of went exactly how I expected it to. I didn't think it was going to be as close as it was. But the Falcons and Tampa Bay, this was in Atlanta. Early, the Falcons go up 7-0 in the first quarter. And then after the second quarter ends, the game is tied 10-10. Tampa Bay comes out and scores in the third quarter, scores a touchdown, and the Falcons can only accumulate a field goal. And then Tampa Bay only had to kick 2 field goals in the fourth quarter to win the game. Baker looked good, 17 to 32, 167, 3 tuds. Baker Mayfield was also their rushing leader, 5 carries, 39 yards. And a guy that was on my fantasy bench, and man, am I pissed about it, because Emeka Egbuka, 4 receptions, 67 yards, 2 tuds. Looked great. Baker Mayfield, Baker Mayfield has another weapon when the Buccaneers have incredible talent at wide receiver. And they have for 11 years since Mike Evans has been there. I mean, they've always had good wide receivers. But the Falcons, a guy I'm kind of excited to see be the starter this year, Michael Penix, 27-42. He's got a cannon for an arm. I just got to say that real quick. And we all seen it in college when he was playing for Washington, but Michael Penix doing it in the NFL is even more exciting. Michael Penix threw for 298 and 1 tud. Tyler Algier was their rushing leader, 10 carries, 24 yards. But their reception leader was also a running back. Bijan had 6 receptions, 100 yards, 1 touchdown. It's weird to see a game leader overview of rushing and receiving yards being 2 different running backs. And I'm surprised that Algier is their rushing leader. Why is Bijan not getting most of the work? That guy is electric. We've all seen the top-down cam of him doing like 360s and jumping over people. Like, I think that I've talked about this with my friends and my family. You can kind of feel it and see it when a team is on the trend up. When there's something to be excited about, it usually turns into something that is exciting. For instance, let me think of like a good scenario. Like, for instance, when Patrick Mahomes got drafted, Alex Smith was the QB. Alex Smith looked good. Then they bench Alex Smith, and I think it also had a lot to do with his injury too. But you could kind of see that even though, here's a better one. Lamar Jackson gets drafted, and the Ravens didn't look all that good the first year. I think they went like 8-8. This is before we had the extra game in the NFL. But you could just see the excitement grow. Like, you could just see that, this guy's like kind of carrying him. And if they just got a little bit better talent around him, this team would be something. And ever since then, it's been on the trend upward of like the Ravens are one of the best teams in the NFL. Same thing with other teams that surprisingly get good all of a sudden. Jaden Daniels last year, it didn't start off all that great, but you could see the trend. Like, this guy is good. This guy has what it takes. It happened when the Lions got Dan Campbell, and that team turned around. They went from like 0-16 to like closer to middle of the pack, like 8-8, and then all of a sudden they're one of the best teams in the NFL. You can see the trend upward. This is the Falcons to me is that now. Ever since drafting Michael Penix, and yes, I'm a Michael Penix guy, but still, you can see the trend upward. Like, if they just get a little bit better talent around them, maybe a little bit better defense, this team might be something. Are they there yet? No. But I think they have what it takes to get there. They're not going to be competing for a championship this year, but next year, if they draft right, if they pick up good people in the offseason, could it happen? Absolutely. This is one of those. The Falcons are one of those teams. They lose a close one. The Bucs are just the better team in this instance, but you shouldn't keep your head down because you guys look damn good. The Bengals Browns, not what I expected. I mean, I expected the winner to win, but I did not expect it to be this close. I don't know what's happening in Cincinnati. I don't know. We'll get into it after talking about the game leaders. Joe Burrow, 14-23, 113, 1 tud. Chase Brown, rushing leader, 21 carries, 43 yards, 1 touchdown. T. Higgins was their receiving leader, 3 receptions for 33 yards. Joe Burrow only throwing for 113 is a little scary, but Joe Flacco, 31 of 45, 291 touchdown and 2 interceptions. This guy will throw the ball everywhere. Dylan Sampson was their rushing leader, 12 carries for 29 yards. Ugh. Receiving leader, Jerry Jeudy, 5 receptions for 66 yards. Cincinnati came out hot in that first drive and looked electric. They scored immediately. Didn't score again in the first quarter. Then in the second quarter, they scored again. But then the Cleveland Browns put up 10. So at halftime, this game is 14-10. Then in the third and fourth quarter, it was incredibly defensive. None of these offenses could do a damn thing. The only thing they could do was kick field goals. In the third quarter, the Bengals kicked 1 field goal, made 1 field goal. The Cleveland Browns had some kicker issues. I don't know what's going on, but they had some kicker issues. They missed like an extra point in a field goal. They made 2 field goals in the third quarter, and there was not a single score in the fourth quarter. So the Browns lose this one close. The Bengals squeak out a win by 1 point to the Cleveland Browns. I don't know what's happening. Look, I know that the Bengals offensive line isn't all that amazing, but still, Joe Burrow throwing for 113 yards doesn't feel Joe Burrow-esque. Chase Brown didn't really have that much on the ground either. Like, I don't know if this was just a game, one of those game 1 divisional games where it just was weird and like unexpected. But Joe Flacco being able to throw for 290 on the Bengals defense, and for Joe Burrow only being able to throw 113 yards on the Browns defense, like, it was just a weird game all around. I hope that the Bengals turn it around because when the Bengals are good, the Bengals are fun to watch and it makes the NFL more exciting. I'm just glad that Joe Flacco is still still able to throw the ball for 300 yards at 65 years old. That is incredible. I still think the Browns are going to be a bad team this year, and I still am starting to get more and more on the fence about the Bengals this season because they didn't look all that great last season, and they're not starting off hot this season, so I don't know what the hell is happening. Another game, unexpected outcome. I was not expecting this outcome. The Raiders traveled to New England to play the Patriots. Gino Smith. Gino Smith is a guy. Pete Carroll is a guy. Now, I'm not going to get too excited because it was just a Patriots-Raiders game. But the Raiders, what the hell? Gino Smith threw for 24-34, 362, 1 tud and 1 interception. Ashton Gianti had 19 carries, only 38 yards. That's 2 yards average. Didn't look that great, but the Raiders' offensive line, You can throw it up to that. I still think GNT is a good running back, but he just didn't have a great game. Luckily, he got in the end zone. So for all those, fantasy managers that drafted him in the fantasy draft, you got lucky on that one. Brock Bowers, 5 receptions for 103 yards. That's a 20-yard catch average. Drake May, he looked good. Kind of looked good. 30 for 46, 287, 1 touchdown. Did have an interception. Travion Henderson was their leading carrier. Rushing yards leader for the New England Patriots, 5 carries, 27 yards. And Kayshawn, I know I'm gonna mispronounce his last name. I'm sorry. Kayshawn Boot, 6 receptions, 103 yards. Both these quarterbacks had to throw the ball because neither team could get anything going on the ground. Brock Bowers is still one of the best tight ends in the NFL, and he's only in his second year. Had 103 yards. Gino Smith. I'm so glad Gino Smith's career turned around. We love underdogs on this podcast. We do. We love underdogs. Drake May did look good too. They both had an interception, but when your team can't do anything on the ground, you end up throwing in the coverage and shit that you shouldn't have. But the Raiders squeak one out, and it was for a big 10-point third quarter. The Patriots did keep it close with a touchdown and a couple field goals, but the Raiders look good. And Jamie, I may have been wrong. The Raiders might be a lot better than I expected them to be this year. Then we'll have to fly through these games so this podcast isn't 4 hours long. Niners looked off and on during the Seahawks game. Brock Purdy threw for 277, 2 tuds, and had 2 interceptions. McCaffrey only had 22 carries for 69 yards, and their leading receiver was Ricky Pearsall, 4 receptions for 108 yards. Sam Darnold, the QB I have zero faith in and think got paid way too much money for having one good season with Kevin O'Connell. 16 for 23, 150. Zach Charbonnet, a situation I'm confused about because why the hell is Zach Charbonnet your leading rusher? Why? But he had 12 carries, 47 yards, 1 touchdown. That feels like such a Zach Charbonnet stat line to have 12 carries for under 50 yards. That has been his entire career. Luckily, he did get in the end zone. Jackson Smith and Jigba had 9 receptions for 124 yards. Why the hell is Zach Charbonnet getting more snaps and more carries than Kenneth Walker III? Why? We all know he's not the better running back. We've seen it day in, day out. Now, I know Kenneth Walker only had 10 for 20, but the fact that he didn't get any of the work in the pass game, Zach Charbonnet had more snaps overall by like 9 and had more carries. What the hell are these Seahawks doing? Niners squeak out a win with all those injuries. They still had even more injuries. I think that it was like Jawan Jennings and George Kittle both went on the bench. I think Fred Warner was also seen in the tent. And they already have the injuries they do, and they lost all those players. The Niners are going to be in for it this season. Now, luckily, you have Brock Purdy who's going to keep it close in a lot of games they probably shouldn't, but still, I don't think the Niners are going to be the Niners of the past. Titans at Broncos was a blowout. Should have been a bigger blowout. Cam Ward didn't look great, but it was his rookie start. 12 for 28, 112. Tony Pollard was 18 for 60 on the ground. Tony Pollard was also the receiving leader. 1 reception, 29 yards. Bo Nix, 25 of 40, 176, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. RJ Harvey, 6 carries for 70 yards, and Cortland Sutton was their receiving leader with 6 receptions, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. This game felt like a blowout, but honestly, the score should have been even higher than this. This should not have been an 8-point game. You're playing a rookie with a team I know that has a little bit of defensive talent. They don't have a lot of talent on offense. I mean, their QB threw for 112 yards, and their running back had less than 61 yards. This game should not have been within 8. I think if it wasn't for the Tennessee Titans picking off Bo Nix 2 times, this game wouldn't have been as close. But yeah, the Broncos squeak out a win. Well, I think we all thought the Broncos were going to win this game. A game I did not expect the outcome of. The Lions at Packers. This was in Green Bay. Remember that the Packers just traded for Micah Parsons. Jared Goff, 31 of 39, 225, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. Their rushing leader was David Montgomery, 11 carries, 25 yards. They couldn't get anything going on the ground at all. Sam Laporta was their reception leader, 6 receptions for 79 yards. And I will make the statement that, it also didn't help that this game started to get out of hand and they had to throw the ball a lot. I think David Montgomery, or at least Jahmyr Gibbs, would have had more yards. But unfortunately, this game got to the point where they had to throw the ball constantly to try to get back in the game. Jordan Love didn't even have to throw for that many yards. He was only 16, 22, 188, but he had 2 touchdowns through the air. Josh Jacobs was their rushing leaders, 19 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. And Romeo Doubs, 2 receptions, 68 yards. This game started off with a 10-0 first quarter for the Green Bay Packers. Then in the second quarter, they scored again. So it's 17, and the Detroit Lions kicked a field goal. So at halftime, it's 17-3. Then the Detroit Lions come out, kick a field goal, yay. And this game ends up being 17-6. And then in the fourth quarter, the Green Bay Packers outscored them 10-7. So should we be nervous about the Lions? Should we? They lose both their offensive and defensive coordinator in Ben and Aaron Glenn. And the Packers on the uptrend. Jordan Love is a damn good QB, but it's not like the Lions lost much talent. They didn't lose any defensive players. They didn't lose any of their important offensive players. It can't be all in the coordinators. I guess it could be in, Ben Johnson was an offensive genius. But should we be worried about the Detroit Lions here? On a scale from 1 to 10, how worried am I about the Detroit Lions? I'm going to say 10 being the most worried. They might go 0-16, and 1 being I'm not worried at all. They're definitely going to be a playoff team. I'm at a 4, maybe a 3. I still think they have the talent. They have all the pieces necessary. Is there going to be some growing pains with new coordinators? Of course. But I also think that they went up against a behemoth in the Green Bay Packers. Great coaching staff. Didn't lose any players and picked up Micah Parsons. I think this was just a bad game 1 matchup for the Lions, honestly. The next game, Texans-Rams, was not a fun one to watch. The Texans didn't look that great. CJ Stroud, 1927, 188, and 1 interception, no touchdowns. Nick Chubb was their rushing leader, just picked him up on my bench. Nick Chubb is still a dog as long as he can get past that injury. 13 carries, 60 yards. And Jaden Higgins was their reception leader for 2 receptions for 32 yards. Matthew Stafford threw for 245 and 1. Kyron Williams. Oh, man, Kyron Williams is so good. He just always has a stat line that you like as a fantasy manager. 18 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown, and Puka Nacua had 10 receptions for 130 yards. Puka doing what Puka does. He did get hit really hard and had to go back to the locker room, but he came back out, and the Rams found a way to win this game. But it was only 9-14, so it didn't take much to win the game. The Ravens at Bills. This was a crazy game. Crazy game. I went to dinner with my family on Sunday night. We're watching the game from a distance because we're at a restaurant that's not just all about sports. The Bills go up in the first quarter. It's 7-3 when And then in the second quarter, the Ravens scored 17 points. So at this point, it's 20-7. Bills scored 6 in the second quarter, so it's 20-13. Then in the third quarter, the Ravens scored 14 points to the Bills to the Bills 6 points. So at this point, it's 34-20. So going into the fourth quarter, the Ravens are up 34-20. So they're up 14 points. In the fourth quarter, oh man, this is just a crazy game to recap because there was a point where the Bills are down 15 in the fourth quarter with like nine-ish minutes left. And I started to turn the game off because I'm like, this game this is how it's gonna end. They're up 15. It's the fourth quarter. You kind of expect what's gonna happen. And then Josh Allen just makes this incredible all-time comeback. I mean, they had this like 4th and goal situation where he throws it across the middle, it gets tipped, and ends up landing into... I'll just do this real quick. It lands in Keon Coleman's hands. Like, the pass was not intended for Keon Coleman, but it got tipped into his hands in the end zone. So at this point, before that happened, Derrick Henry runs 46 yards for a touchdown and they missed the extra point. So at this point, it's 40-25. There's 4 minutes left before the next score happens, and that's when the tip happens to Keon Coleman. So at this point, it's 15 points. They score. They get the extra point. So now they're only down 8 in the fourth quarter. Then Josh Allen runs the ball into the end zone with 2 minutes left on the clock, but they missed the 2-point conversion. So at this point, it's a minute and 58 left on the clock. It's 40-38. The Bills are still down 2. And with 0-0-0 running off on the clock, Matt Prater hits a 32-yard field goal. And Buffalo wins the game 40-41. So with 4 minutes left, the game is still 15 points. 15 points. The Bills are down 15 points. They had to score twice and kick a field goal because they missed the 2-point conversion. This game probably would have went to overtime, but Josh Allen leads this incredible comeback. It's 4th down. Ball tips. They score. Josh Allen runs it in the end zone for a touchdown, and they miss the extra point. And then Matt Prater, they still have to drive the ball. The defense at this point still has to stop Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, and the Ravens from running out the clock, from getting a first down, which they do. Now they have to return a punt and drive the ball down the field to get into field goal position. So I'm assuming by the time they actually received the punt, it's 30 seconds or less that they have to drive the ball down the field and get within 32 yards to kick a field goal. This game was insane. I turned it off in the fourth quarter because I thought it was just going to be a blowout. I mean, you had Derrick Henry. We'll go over the game leaders. Lamar Jackson, 14 of 19. He only had to throw 20 times. He had 209 and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, big dog Derrick Henry, 18 carries, 169, 2 TDs. Zay Flowers, also electric. I mean, out of the 209 yards that Lamar Jackson threw, Zay Flowers caught 7 of those for 143 and 1 touchdown. Josh Allen, 33 of 46, 394 yards and 2 touchdowns. He might be the best quarterback in the league, if not behind Patrick Mahomes, because of all that Patrick Mahomes has done so far in his career. He might be the second, if not the best quarterback in the league. James Cook had 13 carries. He couldn't do anything. I bet on James Cook to have 50 plus yards, and he could not. They just could not get anything done on the ground, and then they hit a point where they just had no choice but to throw the ball. He had 13 carries, 44 yards, 1 touchdown. Keon Coleman was their reception leader, 8 receptions, 112 yards, and 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry, was the reason that this game was essentially a blowout for a lot of it towards the end. He only had to carry the ball 20 times, but he almost had 10 yards a carry on every carry. He had 169 yards and 1 touchdown. Lamar Jackson can throw the ball. He's got a cannon, but he didn't even need to in this game. And then the Ravens defense blow it. And you let Josh Allen do what Josh Allen does and lead these electric comebacks. This game felt special. This game was special to watch in the moment, even though I missed some of it towards the end. I did get to see the recap, and man, it's one of those NFL games you're like, I wish I was watching it. I wish I watched every single second of it. Then our Monday night game. Oh, am I worried about the Ravens? No. Do I worry that this loss can lead to some, lost confidence? Absolutely. But I still have faith that the Ravens will figure it out. They're going to be a playoff team. Both these teams are going to be competing for a chip this year, especially if the Chiefs end up not great. So I expect both those teams to be there in November, December, all that going into January. Vikings at Bears. This was another good game. I thought that J.J. McCarthy first start. I thought that Caleb Williams has a year under his belt. I thought this game was going to be close, but I thought the score would be flip-flopped. I honestly thought that the Bears would win this game. But boy, was I wrong. Kevin O'Connell is just a good coach. J.J. McCarthy, 13 of 21, 43, 2 tuds. He did have an interception. Jordan Mason was their rushing leader, 15 of 68. Aaron Jones, receiving leader. Another one of those stat lines where you have a rushing leader and a receiving leader as 2 different running backs. He had 3 receptions, 44 yards, and 1 touchdown. Caleb Williams threw 21 of 35, 210, and 1 tud. Remember, Ben Johnson's their coach. Offensive-minded coach Ben Johnson. Yeah, that's their coach. That is their coach. Caleb Williams was their rushing leader too. Sorry, DeAndre Swift. Caleb Williams stole this one from you. 6 carries, 58 yards, 1 touchdown. DJ Moore led the receiving aspect for the Bears. 3 receptions, 68 yards. Bears go up 10-6 at halftime. Then the Bears come out and score in the third quarter to go up 17-6. And then the Vikings had a miraculous first. J.J. McCarthy is the first ever rookie and first ever first start to have 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of a game. And he had to score those 3 touchdowns to win the game, which is nuts. So he leads this miraculous fourth quarter string of drives that wins them the game. Because at this point, the game is 17-6 going into the fourth quarter. So you have to at least score a couple of times, a touchdown and touchdown, 2-point conversion and a field goal to at least tie the game. But then the Vikings come out and score 3 touchdowns to win the game. And so, am I worried about the Bears? I think this is another lost confidence thing where it's like, this could string a couple of wins together for the Vikings just based on confidence alone. And it's surprising that the receiving leader was not Justin Jefferson. I guess it technically you could say it was because they had the same amount of receiving yards. Because Justin Jefferson only had 44 for 1 touchdown. But still, this could string together a couple of wins for the Vikings just based on confidence alone. And this could string a couple of losses for the Bears just on losing confidence, thinking we did what we could have to win this game and we still lost. This could lead to a couple of lost games. Hopefully Ben Johnson gets them out of the gutters and the Bears figure it out, because I do have faith in Ben Johnson as a coach. And I like Caleb Williams. I think I watched a lot of his college tape, and he was incredible. J.J. McCarthy, first game as a rook, well, kind of pseudo rookie. Remember he was out all last year, but first ever start leads together 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter to win the game. Exceptional, exceptional. Now let's get into these week 2 games. We'll talk about the odds, where the line is at, what I'm feeling for the game based on, the week 1 outcome and how I feel about the team overall. Starting the Thursday night game, the Commanders at Green Bay Packers. I think the Commanders are a good team. I just seeing the Packers do what they did to the Lions really has me on the hot seat for the Packers. Like, I just think that, do I think the Commanders could win this game? Yes, but I think that confidence boost to beating a team that almost went to the Super Bowl last year, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I just think that the Packers are going to ride on that hot start, and I think the spread is at 3. The Packers are favored by 3. The over under 48.5. I think this is going to be an over game, and I think the Packers are going to cover that spread. I think this game is going to be like within that 4 to 7 range. So I think the Packers will win by 3 or more, and I think the game total will be over 48.5 because I think both these teams can put up points. Going into Sunday, these are the Sunday morning games. The Browns at the Ravens. The spread is at 11.5. The Ravens obviously favored, and the game total is over under 45.5. Now I think the Ravens could put up 45.5 by themselves on the Browns, but I think that this is going to be an under game, and I think that the Ravens 11.5 is a large total for an NFL game. But I'd probably bet alongside the Ravens covering that total, being at like 12 or more, being at like 2 touchdowns. The Los Angeles Rams at the Tennessee Titans. The spread is at -5.5. Over under is 41.5. Now, that Ravens Texans game has me a little worried. Do I think that the Rams can cover the spread? Absolutely. I think that they are a much better team, but I'm more worried about the total here. Do I think that the Rams can put up enough points to cover over half of that, over and under total? They didn't look all that great on offense last week. Their weapons look good, but they didn't put up very many points. The Tennessee Titans aren't going to be able to put up very many points. They have a Cam Ward rookie quarterback. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons. I'm going to go -5.5 Rams, and I'm going to go under point total of 41.5. I don't think that the Titans can put up enough points, or the Rams can put up enough points to cover that total. Bears at Lions, a divisional game. The spread is at 6.5 in favor of the Lions, and the over-under total is at 47.5. I think that the Bears are going to actually cover the spread here. I think the Bears are going to cover the spread at 6.5. I don't think they're going to win the game, but I do think that they'll at least be within 6.5 points, and I think this is going to be an under game. Under 47.5 point total. It's a divisional game. It's usually closer. Usually doesn't score as many points because both these teams understand each other a little bit better than playing like a team not in your division. So I'm going to go Bears plus 6.5, under 47.5 point total. Buffalo Bills at Jets. The point total is at 6.5 spread, and the over-under total is 46.5. Now, surprisingly here, I'm going... Ooh. The Jets had a good run game last week. The Bills almost got crushed by not being able to stop the run. I still think the Bills are going to win this game. I think I'm going to lay this. I'm going to go -6.5 for the Bills, and I'm going to go over 46.5 point total. I think that both these teams can score. I think if the Jets can ride on that hot streak of like almost beating the Steelers and being able to run the ball, I think that's what could happen. New York Giants, Dallas Cowboys. The spread is only 4.5. For a Giants team that just got blown out, the spread is only 4.5. Over under 44.5 point total. This feels like an easy bet to me. Like too easy. Almost like I wouldn't make it because it feels so free. But I'm laying the 4.5 with the Cowboys, and I would lay under 44.5 point total. Niners at Saints. The Niners are favored by 3. So that's where the spread's at. And the over-under total is at 40.5. I'm going Niners -3, under 40.5 point total. Patriots at Dolphins. This is a pick'em game because the spread is within 1.5 points. Over under 43.5. I'm going Patriots plus 1.5, under 43.5 point total. Jaguars at Bengals. The Bengals are still favored 3.5. So they are favored. They're favored by 3.5, and the over-under total is at 49.5 points. So essentially, the odds makers think that this game is at like 24-28 is what they think this score is going to be. I'm going to go Bengals -3.5, and I'm going to go under the point total. A 50-point total for both these teams coming off like okay wins. I don't know. The Jaguars, they did play the Tennessee Titans. I don't know. I might be able to talk myself into like the Jaguars covering the spread here, but I'm still going to lay it with the Bengals. For a week 2 game, like it still feels like it could go any direction because you don't know which team is going to be the best, which team just had a good one start, or which team has a string of good starts. So I'm still going to go in favor of Joe Burrow and the Bengals, 3.5 point total, but I'm going to go under the 49.5 game total. Seahawks at Steelers. Seahawks are not favored in this game. The Steelers are by 3. Even though it seems like the odds makers think that the Seahawks are going to be closer to covering the spread because the odds on the Seahawks covering the spread is better than the Steelers. And they think the game total, it's only at 40 points. I'm going to go Steelers -3, game total over 40 points. Broncos, Colts. The Broncos are favored in this game, surprisingly, after that Colts week 1 insane 33-8 game against Miami. And the point total for the game is at 43.5. I'm going to do what no better should and go just strictly based on last week's game. And I'm going to lay the +2.5 with the Colts. Pat McAfee, here we go. Maybe have a team with Daniel Jones. Over under 43.5 points. I'm going to go over, actually. I'm going to go Colts to cover, over total 43.5. Panthers, Cardinals. Cardinals are favored by 6.5. The point total is 43.5. I'm laying the 6.5 with the Cardinals, and I'm playing that under. Absolutely. I think the only team that's going to score in this game is going to be the Cardinals. Now, I will never bet on my Eagles, ever. I'm just giving you some insight to, like, if I wasn't an Eagles fan, what would I lay just strictly based on how I feel? The Eagles are favored by 1.5, barely. It's kind of a pick'em game at this point, and the point total is at 46.5 points. So the Eagles are favored by 1.5, over under 46.5 points. I would probably lay just Eagles money line. Actually, I would probably lay Chiefs money line over 46.5 point total. I just have too much faith in the Chiefs. I've seen it over and over again. So that's probably where I would lay. Falcons, Vikings. Both teams that are coming off wins, or not wins, the Falcons barely lost to the Bucs. Vikings barely won against the Bears. The Vikings are favored by 3.5, and the over under totals 44.5. I'm gonna lay Falcons to cover the spread, and I'm laying over the point total of 45. Bucks Texans. Bucks are not favored in this game. The Texans actually are coming off a loss. 2.5 points. Over under totals 43 points. I'm going over, and I'm laying the Bucks spread here. Actually, I'm going to go under game total, and I'm laying the Bucks to cover the spread. And then we have the second Monday night game, which is the Chargers-Raiders. Chargers favored by 3. Over under total 46.5 points. I'm going Chargers to cover 3. Under game total of 46.5 points. That is the games today, or that's the games coming up this week. We'll check in next week, see how we did, talk about how the games went. We have some exciting ones. We kind of have some not so exciting games, like some exciting games to look out for. Thursday night game, Commanders-Packers. The next game would be the Bears-Lions. Then we have the Chiefs-Eagles. And then we have some pseudo exciting games like the Falcons-Vikings, Bucks-Texans, Steelers-Seahawks. So there's not too many crazy games like it was in week 1, but we do have a couple of exciting ones. But I'll be probably watching every game that I can be because I love the NFL. No Friday or Saturday games this week. They only did that for like the travel outside of the US games. But we'll see. I mean, who knows? Do you guys think the Eagles can beat the Chiefs this week, or do you think the Chiefs are going to figure it out? I'm slightly worried about this. Now, I don't know. I know a ton of you guys don't watch these games, but if you guys really do want me to get into like some player bets, some, touchdown scorers, some receiving leaders type bets like that, let me know, and I'll get into games like that. But if I was going to lay like a player parlay, I would lay Jalen Hurts to score a touchdown, like running the ball, like him actually going into the end zone. I would lay Derrick Henry 100 plus yards on the ground. I would lay I'd probably lay I'd lay like Jaden Daniels to have 40 plus rushing yards, and then I would absolutely hammer the under on Cam Ward's passing yards. And I'd probably lay the under on Tyreek Hill's receiving yards. Let's see where that's at right now. Let's go. I don't even know if it'll show me that right now. No, it won't because I'm not signed in. But I'd probably lay the under on Tua's throwing yards. 232.5 coming off that awful week 1 start. But yeah, that's some player props I'd probably lay. I would even put it into a parlay. I mean, the number one bet player parlay right now is for the Thursday night game is Jaden Daniels anytime TD scorer, Debo, Josh Jacobs, and Jaden Reed. That's at plus 2891. So that's $10 wager wins 289. But yeah, that's where I would lay. Now, I know I kind of talked way too long. This is going to be a long episode. I am an NFL fan. I'm sorry, guys. I love the NFL. I love football. I love talking about football. Even though I'm wearing a Dodgers hat, I am a diehard Eagles fan, absolutely diehard Eagles fan. And so I watch every NFL game every week. All what is it, like 23 weeks total or whatever it is that it ends up being. I watch as many games, as many minutes as possible. I catch up on the recap of every game that I can't watch because some games are just on at the same time. But I do like to flip between the games, and so I try to watch as many as possible. But thank you guys so much for staying tuned. Let me know what you like about it. Let me know what kind of feels boring that I talk about. I'll try to switch it up, maybe figure out a way to make it more exciting for you guys. I just love talking about it. I'm going to have guests on as soon as I have guests available, but I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in every week, for checking out all the clips and stuff on my socials, for liking the podcast. But I will see you guys again next week. Let's have a week 2 amazing watch. Let's I hope all of your favorite teams win, and let me know in the comments what you guys thought about the games. Seriously. Thank you guys so much for tuning in every week. I will see you guys again next week. Peace.